Today's movie is hilariously bad, but it has a few golden moments spread throughout. Like Tom popping out from behind a wall to say,
I like big guns and I cannot lie.
or the shot of Mickey walking away from his burning henchman totally horrified. Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review new movies and try to release a new review every day from Monday to Friday. Today's film is High Heat. It's written by James Pedersen and directed by Zach Golden. It stars Olga Kurylenko, Don Johnson, and Dallas Page. When the local mafia shows up to burn down her restaurant, Anna, a chef with a meticulous past, defends her turf and proves her knife skills both in and out of the kitchen. It's an action comedy with touches of relationship drama. It's got a fairly short runtime of an hour and 20 minutes, and as far as movies go, it's pretty light. There's no gore, very little blood, and more humor than action or drama. The jokes are solid, and there are a few hilarious performances here. Chris Diamantopoulos, Ivan Martin, and Jackie Long each play a gag character that had me dying. Diamantopoulos plays Tom, the punching bag husband of Mimi, who softly fights back with advice from his therapist, and drops dope one-liners while striking ridiculous poses. The problems between him and Mimi don't make much sense, but when he's on screen, he's giving it 110% passion, and his timing and expressions are perfect. Martin plays Mickey, the screw-up son of mobster Dom. His childlike demeanor leads to scenes of people treating him like a kid, even though he's like 40. Everyone in the film treats him that way, and yet Martin brings out his emotional side and almost made me feel bad for Mickey while I was laughing at him. Long plays Gary, the scaredy cat henchman who spouts off random nonsense and delivers his lines with the perfect mixture of fear and stupidity to have you laughing. His expressions and body language are exaggerated, and they're so much fun. He also has my favorite line of the film: "I only understand American threats!" The rest of the cast put on decent performances, but their characters tend to have crappy dialogue, and very little to do on screen aside from vomiting exposition. Kurylenko and Johnson have decent chemistry during their time on screen, but their characters don't really make sense, and their story doesn't do them any favors. The soundtrack fits well with the scenery, but fails to make much of an impact. The songs tend to be quiet, and they're easy to miss. The soundtrack is mostly made up of boilerplate tracks, meant to set the mood or raise the tension. There are a few odd songs in the soundtrack that work a little better than the others, but for the most part, none of them are memorable. Visually, the camera work is standard, but centers its characters well. The shots tend to be simpler, without a lot of movement or energy. They work okay for the story. The action sequences, on the other hand, are short, choppy edits of a woman beating up and executing different men several times her size. Kurylenko looks frail, and the men she's beating up are 2 or 3 times bigger than her. They don't really fight back during the sequences, and she knocks them out with little to no effort. There are even several moments where the villains could have shot her in the back or hit her from behind, and they just don't. The action looks bad and doesn't really make sense. The story is somehow even worse. It rushes through everything while explaining crucial parts with throwaway lines, and presenting one-dimensional characters and dialogue that is simplistic and boring. It didn't even bother to come up with unique names. Seriously, everyone in this movie has a generic white guy's name. Gary, Tom, Ray, Dom, Mickey, Rocco. Anna is a generic ex-badass who's trying to live a normal life. Ray is her mouthy screw-up husband, Dom is a normal mobster, and all of the henchmen are dummies. No one steps outside of their box. The film spends all of its time joking and trying to make you laugh, and it almost forgets about the other parts of the story. It doesn't set anything up, and it doesn't try to flesh anything out. The relationship between Ray and Anna doesn't make sense. He's a mess, and she really has no reason to tolerate him. The relationship between Tom and Mimi wasn't ironed out well either. Why were they fighting, and why did Tom's actions at the end change anything? The movie never explains why Anna left her old life or how. It only vaguely hints at why Ray was in so much debt, and why the mob was so desperate to do this now. And it barely touches the relationship between Anna and Mimi until the very end of the film. They literally hash everything out during a 2-minute fight scene, and yet somehow nothing was explained despite both of them talking a lot. The dialogue is often unclear and badly worded, and everyone in the film ends up coming across as a very poor communicator. They're prone to repeating their points over and over, and often fail to respond at all. High Heat focuses on making you laugh to the detriment of the overall product. A few great moments here and there don't outweigh an hour or more of poor dialogue and a boring story, especially when you don't put the time and effort in to properly choreograph the fight scenes or flesh out the relationships. 4 out of 10.